Welcome back to another high-level match of StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is the finals of the Korean StarCraft League number 35. Where in game number 1 we find ourselves on Golden Aura? I think this is Golden Aura. Spotting right here in the top left-hand corner. Playing with the red Protoss pieces. We're looking inside of the main base of hero. No surprise to see him in this finals. He's here pretty much every single week. His opponent, however, it's not Dark. Playing with the blue SCVs. We have none other than Kijkwijzer. Kijkwijzer going up against hero in a best of 5 series. Kijkwijzer actually recently getting picked up by Team Liquid, which is pretty cool. It's actually been kind of nice to see a few more StarCraft acquisitions in the esports world in general. We had Gumiho getting picked up by a team and a bunch of other players as well. Changing the, I guess, allegiance? Is that a reasonable thing to say? I don't know if it's a reasonable thing to say. Anyways, Kijkwijzer is sending out an SCV early on, straight across the other side of the map. Yeah, he wants to go for an engineering bay block right over here, but hero does not want to play against such a thing. Well, he's still going to be able to get it regardless. The thing is, though, when the engineering bay, doesn't have a whole lot of HP, even though these guys don't really deal a whole lot of damage, they're still going to be able to slowly work away at it. Obviously, Kijkwijzer is also slowing down his own build a little bit with this particular start. Generally speaking, it's a Cybercore or a Nexus at this point, and it looks like after the cancel, hero is going to be able to get that Nexus going here at an appropriate time. Okay, so not a great start right here for Kijkwijzer. Also nothing all too crazy, though. He's decided to go for a quick factory here at home, delaying his command center a little while here regardless. Okay. It's only a single gas right here for Kijkwijzer, so we'll have to see exactly what he decides to do with this. Apparently, we're going to go straight into a reactor after a single Marine. So, not going into a Reaper or anything along those lines. He's instead spending that additional 50 gas right now, well, to build that little structure that allows him to pump out 2 of those basic units at once. We can obviously do the switcheroo in just a moment, but I think he's going to prioritize a command center on the low ground here first and foremost. Now, I think Kijkwijzer's Terran versus Protoss, right? It's phenomenal. This is gonna be a very tricky match for hero for sure. Hero oftentimes seems to dispatch of other Terran players by just going for a bunch of Blink Stalkers. I don't really think that Kijkwijzer is going to lose against, well, it is gonna be a Twilight Council, but I don't think he's gonna lose against just Blink Stalkers alone. I'd be surprised at the very least. Like maybe 1 game, maybe 2 games in this best of 5 series if it happens to play out that way. If, for example, Kijkwijzer makes a mistake in the earlier stages of the game, then, yes, if there is a mistake made, then suddenly those Blink Stalkers can deal a tremendous amount of damage. You can kind of call this, I guess, a mistake in the earlier stage of the game. At the very least, it's a slight deficit right here for Kijkwijzer. But I don't think it's enough to really, win the game, right? With like 4 Gateway Blink Stalker. I do suspect, though, that it is going to be Blink. There it is. This is, what hero dreams of. When he closes his eyes at night, this is what he sees, dude. He loves the Blink upgrade. He loves blinking the Stalkers around the map, and especially in combination with a robotics facility, he can deal a lot of damage. It's gonna be 3 gates here for now. 4 gates? No, that's gonna be a robo facility. So 3 gateways. You can go anywhere between like 2 to 4 gateways. 2 into a fast third Nexus, for example. 4 into like, well, fast aggression on the other side of the map. This will definitely lead to an expansion here eventually, but he's still going to be able to get a good number of units going here, regardless. Alrighty, now what exactly is the follow-up going to be here for Kijkwijzer? Yeah, so he's got a medevac coming, okay, fair. There's no Widow Mines or anything along those lines. Instead, it's going to be a group of Marines waiting to be loaded into the plane. They're going to be zapping towards the other side, and interestingly enough, hero's got a lot of vision, but just a straight line, straight from the Terran's main base to the Protoss' main base is completely in the dark right here on the mini-map, although Stalker is actually headed on over in that direction right now. Okay. Getting the heads up of this is big. Are there enough units, though? That's the main question. It's gonna chrono out the Blink upgrade, but yeah, this Stalker over here is not gonna have an easy time. Just killing this pylon would already be massive, but he decides to go for guaranteed damage, which is usually the right call. Matter of fact, taking a lot of damage, by the way. Really don't want to be losing that. Okay, well, he does lose it. Apparently, we're just gonna sacrifice everything here and maximize the damage output, which I don't love. Yeah. Okay, 3 probes. 3 probes right here. 1 Stalker for a medevac and 7 Marines. Well, now suddenly, I don't really mind the Blink follow-up. There's the Prism coming. We've got 3 gates in total. I'm suspecting we're gonna see a third Nexus here momentarily, but this is certainly a moment for hero to go across the map, and at the very least, get a taste of what this Terran player is capable of. The thing is, though, since everybody's been playing Blink Stalker for the better part of like 2 years now, Terrans have gotten very good at defending against this sort of aggression too, right? So they've gotten very good at positioning their siege tanks and getting their bunkers and all the things at the right position, at the right time. So instead we're gonna go into a Robo Bay right now. Okay, so hero mixing it up a little bit. There's the third Nexus, finally, but I think Cure at this point is also making the assumption that the third Nexus has been building for a little while. Okay, for some reason decides to commit right there. Ugh, that was a bit ugly. Although that being said, the adepts, they do tend to fall off at this stage in the game. You don't really get that much value out of them, but that was certainly a little bit sloppier than it really needed to be. Hero's gonna try and do a little bit of poking and prodding right now with the Stalkers, but ultimately, I don't suspect we're gonna see a whole lot of aggression coming out of the Terran player just yet. He fired up the Stimpack upgrade together with the, well, the armor upgrade there too, the combat shields, and well, I guess it's not an armor upgrade. It's plus 10 HP on the Marines themselves. He's gonna go for a little bit of a move out before that upgrade finishes, which is fair enough, but this may actually backfire. Yeah, he scans right now over at the third base. He sees the timing of it, expects it to be done, and instead he now has to deal with Stalkers inside of the main. Alright, sometimes actually this aggression with 4 Stalkers in a Prism, sometimes it deals more damage than like a 4-gate all-in. We see that very, very frequently where Terrans are just not quite prepared to deal with just a few of these units dealing damage on the other side of the map. Hero must have figured out at this point that, yeah, that was not the entire Terran army defending at home. So instead he decides to jump on top of this opportunity. There is a Raven available, fair enough, but that first siege tank has already gone down. Lovely pickup micro here as well, trying to keep these weakened units alive, making that siege tank shoot at the 1 HP Stalker instead, and he decides, you know what, I want to get both the siege tanks as well as that Raven. And Hero once again cleans up some really important units. Ultimately, yeah, that's a lot of losses on the side of the Terran, and not quite the situation you want to be in, right? Because generally speaking, this is the moment where you get that power spike with Stimpack and combat shields finishing up. But it turns out there are barely any units available to get that power spike. Although I say that, Cure has decided to load up what Marines and Marauders he did have and send them towards the other side of the map. Is there enough available right now to defend at home? That's the big question. I think he probably is going to be okay with reinforcing units coming up. Here's that Marine drop though inside of the main base. A couple Widow Mines also decided to join that plane. Shield battery immediately gets targeted down. In the meantime, on the other side of the map, more and more Marines and Marauders are popping out of their barracks. The Nexus itself is getting targeted. Okay. Cure decides that he needs to bring out the big guns, and apparently he needs to get a little lucky in this game, and he gets it. Nexus falls. Robo Bay is not gonna be too far behind it either, and that is going to knock Hero back to the Stone Age here as far as his tech goes. I mean, if he gets the if he gets the Colossus, that's gonna be, yeah, that's too much. All right, he was hoping there. He was dreaming of it. Some of us are dreaming of a white Christmas. Not what Mr. Cure is dreaming of. He's dreaming of a dead Colossus. I was gonna sing for you, but you know what? I decided halfway through that sentence, everybody's better off without me singing. I'm dreaming of a dead Colossus. No? Alright, sorry. It's a bit too early. I mean, I'm recording this in late November, actually. I'm preparing a few videos in advance, but I think by the time that this video is up on my YouTube channel, it'll be December. I think it's at least becoming somewhat appropriate. Nice control right here, though. Hero right now suddenly is finding himself in a bit of a weird situation. He was already getting the 4th Nexus, so getting the 4th Nexus over here is gonna give him a new place, I guess, to mine the resources. There's no real counter, though, against these Colossi, right? Yeah, with the Prism available here, too. Hero may just be able to deal a ton of damage on the other side of the map. I mean, he's going Marauders, Cure that is. Marauders are really good, but this is 4 Colossus in total. Apparently, we may have had a little bit of a lag spike, a short break in the game. Either way, Colossi right now being juggled. They're trying to shoot their lasers. It's really only the Colossi at this point that remain, but there's barely any Terran units available to continue firing. Finally, one of the big laser giraffes ends up going down. Fantastic control, though, here. Coming out of Hero. Ultimately, he's gonna have to recall because there's one Viking spoiling the party. And in game number 1, Cure, well, He was behind, then he found himself in an advantage, but he was not prepared to deal with the counterattack. Main Nexus right now being rebuilt. hero had to put all of his eggs in one basket there because he needed to get something done. He was not going to be able to sit back there and just continue playing a macro game. Cure ended up losing, well, practically all of his SCVs. 39 of them have gone down in total. Alright, so what do we do now? Bit of a banger here in game number 1. What exactly do we do now? I think, yeah, hero is gonna continue the aggression. He's got a safe expansion to take, but I think he should be able to just outgrow here over the next few minutes. Just continue the aggression. There's not that much mining available right here for Cure. And maybe most importantly, he still doesn't have a good answer against the Colossi. I mean, 2 of them have gone down. Zealots in the main base just being as obnoxious as possible. Did we lose the Prism? Yeah, Prism apparently did fall, so that does make it a little tricky right now for our Protoss to decide if he wants to actually be aggressive some more. But again, this is hero, right? He needs to be careful he doesn't overextend though, because Cure, of course, has the defender's advantage here. His units just simply pop out much closer to where a potential battle would be. And it's mostly Marauders at this point, and they make short work of basically all of these units. 1-1 upgrades here on the production tab for hero. He's now playing 4 base versus 3 base Terran. And this is 3 base Terran with only 30 SCVs. So Cure has been sprinkling in a couple of those space constructed vehicles, but really not that much. Hero decides to pull the trigger once again. This is almost a little bit too ambitious for me. He's probably gonna be okay, but why take the risk when you have 1-1 upgrades and a Prism coming across? I mean, again, it's a lot of SCVs that end up falling here, right? So that alone may already justify it. It's mostly a wash as far as the armies go, it seems. Which usually seems to favor Terran. Okay. Because of that, hero decided, you know what? I've been a bit of a jerk to you. Here. Have another Prism. Good guy, hero. Yeah. Protoss players never greedy like that. No, they're good. They're here to share. They were raised the right way. Terrans would never do such a thing. Anyways. Yeah, I think that was unnecessarily aggressive. He had everything coming and no Prism there yet, but maybe the Prism was closer by than I realized. There's a chance, but I don't think it quite made it across the map. This is still, by any indication right now, by any way to measure this, a massive deficit though for Cure. He's behind in upgrades. Well, maybe not that. He's even in upgrades. He's behind in economy. He's behind in army. He's behind in supply. He's behind in bases. Yeah. He realizes it right now as well. He hits GG on the keyboard, and because of that, it's hero who obtains the victory in game number 1. Game number 2. Cure decided to send out an early SCV once again. Hero, though, sees it coming in from a mile away. Does that mean he's gonna change his strategy up at all? I mean, that previous game, despite the fact that he lost his main base, still turned out to be okay for him. The map is Oceanborn. Definitely nothing all too crazy on this particular map. And actually, you know what? Cure decides to, well, ride his SCV all the way back. He's like, you know what? Yeah, I know this dude is gonna be pulling one of his probes regardless. Maybe even 2 of his probes just to try and prevent an engineering bay block. So just by showing an SCV to my opponent, I've already dealt the damage that I was looking for. Hero right now, yeah. Busy looking for a potential. He decides to, maybe it's over here in the back? No, not gonna happen? Okay. Technically, there's still a dark spot. He hasn't seen a factory yet, because obviously there can't be a factory yet, but he may very well make the assumption. He may have seen, actually, he may have seen that the SCV decided to return back, but regardless, there's always a chance that one of those Terran structures is going to be proxied on the other side of the map. Mostly just a little concerned right there for a second barracks. All things considered, though, nothing all too spicy here going on in this game so far. We're gonna see a command center on the high ground, just to be safe, and there's that factory as well. Alright. All the early game roads, they do... You wanna see a magic trick? They do seem to lead towards the same strategy, right? Wanna see a magic trick? Look at this. Huh? How does he do it? I may tell you my secrets one day. Probably not. Alrighty. Twilight Council coming up right now for hero. Nexus on the low ground has miraculously finished, and the same can be said for that command center on the other side of the map. Looks like Cure is thinking about going for a little bit of, well, I would imagine, Widowmine drop shenanigans. This is something that we see very frequently. It's also something we see very frequently discussed on Reddit, on the Battle.net forums, and basically any place where StarCraft 2 gets talked about. I mean, the Widowmine drop is one of the most popular conversation subjects as of late. To be fair, it is a very oppressive strategy. And I do think one of the changes they will probably make one day, I'm calling it right now, okay? I'm not part of the Balance Council, I don't really know anything, but I think they are going to change the amount of Widowmines that can fit inside of one medevac. I think they're gonna change it from 4 to 2. Yep, calling it right now. It's just one of those strategies, right, that is very easy to execute, but about 10 times harder to defend. And that's kind of like the main, that's the main issue. It's certainly something that Protoss can defend, and at this level they will pretty much always defend it cleanly. But it's just one of those things that can end the game, and it costs like 4 APM for the Terran to execute. But in order to defend against it perfectly, you have to make sure you have an observer nearby, you gotta make sure you pull your probes, but not all too many of them, you kinda wanna sacrifice them. You need to make sure you have your units in range, maybe blink at the same time, get an adept in as well with the perfect shade timing. Like, it's one of those things where, like, in order to execute it, I mean, obviously StarCraft 2 in general is asymmetrically balanced, right? So every race has that. But I think for the Widowmine defense, yeah, it definitely is a little too lopsided. Anyways, are we gonna be able to save them? Yeah, and this is cheeky. Ooh, lovely play. Oh, he's retargeting. Okay, good defense right there by Mr. Hero. The cheeky part about it, and the main reason why a lot of people get super frustrated, is because this follow-up army from Protoss is super micro heavy, right? So Hero once again going into the Blink Stalkers, and now he's got this medevac all the way over there in the top left-hand corner, just sort of sitting there. And it can come back, yeah, anytime he wants to. So in this particular instance, we're sending it back in quite early. But what we see very commonly is the medevac coming in as soon as the Stalkers are preoccupied in the main base of the Terran, right? And then Terran can be like, whoop whoop. Suddenly we see 17 probes killed on the right side, or the left side rather, of the screen, and that's gonna be the end of it. I think the easiest change I can do without destroying the strategy is just to allow only 2 Widowmines inside of a medevac, which will still make it a common strategy. Auto turret coming in. Maybe there are better solutions though, I'm just thinking out loud here, but that's the most elegant one that I think I've heard. But maybe the Balance Council of StarCraft 2 can come up with something a little bit better than that. It's not even too strong of a strategy necessarily either, it's just annoying, I guess. We've seen enough of it. Siege tank over here goes down, load of Stalkers end up falling as well. 2 is a load of Stalkers, absolutely. He's gonna continue warping in. Now we're on 3 gateways once again. Third Nexus is gonna be coming up here momentarily. Hero's got the money for it. I'm assuming he's gonna queue it up here in just a sec, unless he wants to warp in even more Stalkers. Yeah, losing the supply depot does make things a little trickier. Going into, ooh, nice pickup. Going into the Colossus here first, but he still has money to make a Nexus. Hero, what are we saving up for? Are we saving up for the next game? Okay. This Nexus, quite literally like half a minute late for no apparent reason at all, because he was sitting at like 600 minerals there the entire time. Anyways, I'm becoming more and more critical in my casts, I've noticed. Like, I used to be nicer to pro gamers making mistakes, but in like 2 years from now, I'm just gonna be straight up trash talking them. 2 years from now, I'll be like, oh, look at this guy. What an idiot, he didn't even make the Nexus 30 seconds earlier. Ugh, I could even do a better job than this dude. And then I look at my own ladder games, and they're not quite as beautiful. But if you look at the trend over the last 5 years of me casting games, I definitely used to be a lot nicer to pro gamers. Yeah. Look, guys, I've seen too many games. Especially, I'm frustrated whenever I watch hero games in particular these days. When it's like a Protoss versus Zerg and there's just no unit in the wall off. I lose my mind every time I see him all army hotkeying, man. Anyways, Stalkers right now coming in from the back. Sorry, Hero. Huge fan of your playstyle, don't get me wrong, but some of it is very frustrating. Okay. Stalkers going across the map. Terran army here parked in the middle of the map. Hope they brought their sleeping bags, because they don't seem to be going anywhere. They're just chilling right here on the ocean floor. This is the moment where hero is already thinking about making a 4th Nexus. 3rd CC is gonna finish up. This quick Colossus transition, though, is gonna be very handy, right? It just shuts down all of these Terran pushes very nicely, assuming you have the right units in the right place. But the Colossi just make that so much better. Sentry's being warped in. There's the Forge as well. Okay. Now this is a scary attack, though, coming up right here for Cure. His army is big. Yeah, there's a lot of good siege tank spots on this map as well. Is hero gonna try and shut this down before it really gets underway? He's thinking about it. But with that big anti-armor missile, I don't really think he can jump. Yeah, he's gotta be careful. So all of these, while these Protoss units are covered in that dust, right? The orange paint over there, Prism ends up falling. They do take additional damage. So their armor has been reduced, but it's a temporary measure. Yeah, you can soak up some of the shields, I guess. Stalkers over here, accidentally miscontrolled. And that suddenly makes this particular attack right here from Cure very dangerous. He's got all of the important upgrades done. I feel like he can go. Really, Cure? Huh. There really wasn't that much. I mean, there were a lot more Stalkers, but like there weren't really that many Protoss units available. Okay. Cure apparently taking the executive decision right there. And decides, you know what, this is not what we're doing. I like how that Stalker, by the way, blinked away for the Colossus. He could have just stopped the Colossus shooting at the... Which is what he ultimately did there anyways. The blink was kind of funny to me. Why blink? That doesn't... Anyways, it's okay. Alright, so, ultimately, Cure, yeah, he slowly suffocates his opponents, apparently. This is going to give hero a lot of wiggle room, though. I feel like he could have increased the damage output a little bit, but he must have done that exact same fight many, many times, and he's made the call there that he wasn't gonna commit to it. Widowmine's just trying to be as obnoxious as they possibly can be. Ultimately, though, they're gonna get shut down. Yeah, sometimes as a StarCraft player, you just recognize scenarios, and you're like, okay, you know what? I have taken this bait one too many times already. It is important for me right now to back off. And that's what Cure did there. I feel like he didn't need to, but he probably was right. Alright, Ghost coming up. Always a nice upgrade to your repertoire of Terran units. There you go. First time I've ever used that word in a cast. It certainly does add a lot of value, though. EMPing units is huge. Now, Zealot counterattack not achieving all too much. Cure now going for his two-pronged aggression that he's very fond of, but hero already, yeah, setting himself up for success there. He's got units available on the right side of the map to defend against that army, and then at the same time also the same thing on the left. Lovely movement here. That's where Cure wins a lot of games against weaker Protosses. He's very good at controlling multiple battles at the same time. Now he's sneaking 4 medevacs, though, full of units towards the main base, and he's still gonna try and create a little bit of chaos, maybe force the recall on some of these units. Instead, we're gonna just walk these Stalkers with their cliff walking ability up towards the high ground, blink the Stalkers in as well, but this is going to hurt. Zealots, okay, forcing a little bit of friendly fire right there, trying to push as well on the left side of the map, at least looking for an opportunity. Is a little bit too YOLO for my liking, though, Cure. If the name tags of these players were covered up, I would probably be guessing Bjorn. Bjorn's very fond of that. Good EMP right there on the sentries. Gravitic Drive is going to finish up. That is the Warp Prism speed upgrade. So let's just getting rid of whatever leftovers there still are. Okay. Planetary Fortress has been set up over here at the 3 o'clock base for Cure. He's going to be transitioning towards just more and more of the same. Okay, so those ghosts are really neat, right? So they're good against Archons, they're good against sentries. Usually we see them made specifically to deal with High Templar, right? That's at least their original function, but these days they're just so good against everything. Clumped up Zealots, clumped up Stalkers, all of them just lose their shields very rapidly against well-placed EMPs. Instead, though, hero's decided to go for a counterattack. Really? Okay. So he doesn't want to fight this Terran army straight up. I honestly can't blame him, but that does mean that he's losing the battle on both the left as well as the right side of his infrastructure. In the meantime, though, Protoss going into the natural, into the main base, killing tons of SCVs in the process too. And there's certainly going to be a lot more that will fall. Third base and fourth base are already gone. Fifth base? Okay, I think unscouted so far. Cure does not know about it. Although he did end up losing one of his Marines just now. He may get the inkling that something is not quite right. We have a full-on base race underway. Now, technically speaking, this is a moment where hero could recall. But it's very dangerous because you have very little control over where your units actually reappear. I think he's leaning into that hidden base of his that, well, Cure currently doesn't know about. There's a planetary fortress. I'm assuming hero, well, I mean, he should know that that is there 100% of the time. He hasn't technically seen it, but there's no way he assumes his opponent is still on 3 bases because this is late into the game. That could be a serious oversight, though. Nah, no way, no way. He's got to know that something is not quite right. Anyways, we're gonna go after all of these structures. So the win condition in a game of StarCraft 2 is to kill all of your opponent's structures. It's not about army, it's about structures. So if I open up the structures tab, only a very small amount actually, well, remain for both players. This could actually get very awkward here because Cure does not know about that expansion. Okay, well now the probes certainly do find another base. This really was a surprise. It's surprising to me that this was a surprise to you, hero. Interesting. He assumed that 14 minutes in, maybe he thought the base over here at the bottom was taken. He did have a look at that one. Prism over here, I was like, yo, I don't want to live. And now these reinforcing probes are accidentally baiting the entire Terran army. Across the map. A recall right now on that Protoss ball, though, and it means that both players still have a base to mine. Okay. Cure has got a ton of money in the bank. Problem is, he cannot produce anything. Yeah, he's gonna need about a dozen supply depots before he can make anything at this point. Dark Shrine coming up. I love the Dark Shrine. Same for hero, though. He's gonna need a lot more pylons here to actually spend some of his money. The thing is, I would be favoring Cure if he actually could spend his resources right now, but he can't. Hero has got an opportunity to push forward here, but still, there are ghosts in the mix. One good EMP is gonna buy Cure a ton of time. Okay, well, that's one way to get rid of that observer. Sorry. Ghost ends up dying. Are we gonna commit? I was gonna say, I don't think this is quite the angle. Trying to maybe get a few of these Vikings would be really nice for a hero. That would make it much easier for those Colossi to deal damage. Another command center coming up. This game is actually continuing. Both players, somehow, some way, managed to take a base that the opponent did not know of. I think hero needs to be careful he doesn't get a little over-eager here, because ultimately I've got a feeling that this Terran army is the more powerful one, especially with EMPs. Like, if you take these Colossi out of the equation, this Terran army rolls that of the Protoss. There's the Guardian Shield, though. A couple more EMPs also do land. Trying to go after the Vikings. Is this a fight? I was going to say, yeah, those Sentry Force Fields are very dangerous. Shutting down more and more of these supply depots. Why on earth are we building them here, Cure? I guess we ran out of space. Yeah, he doesn't have space over here. Command Center not cancelled. That's a kill. Oh my god, is hero actually doing this somehow? Well, there's another big EMP. Apparently Cure has decided I'm gonna pull the boys and just try to see if I can get rid of this Protoss army, and he can. There he goes. He shuts down that force with relative ease. At the cost of 14 SCVs, though. Now Dark Templar are coming up. Shadow Stride is, well, almost finished. That's the blink ability, so these units now have a short-range teleport that they can use to start slicing up the units. Plus, of course, they are cloaked. How many scans does Cure have? He's got missile turrets, but that's it. He's got 0 scans. That's weird. 17 minutes into the game, he has no detection. He's got no detection. Well, I say that he still does have EMPs, and EMPs temporarily reveal any of those Dark Templar. That was a valiant effort right there from hero, but ultimately, it's our Terran player who evens up the score. Next up, we find ourselves on the map Solaris. This time around, no early game SCV harassment, no probes going across the map. Apparently both players are just going to be relying on their units instead. Quick Twilight Council build here once again for hero. Command Center building right now on the low ground as well for Cure. As he's going to be able to get his very first Reaper out. This is a double Reaper opener apparently for Cure. Going into a factory, and we'll probably see a starport here momentarily. Okay. One of the difficult things for Protoss is figuring out what exactly is going on inside of that main base of the Terran, right? And even when you have full vision of exactly what's happening there, it's still difficult to actually estimate what units will be popping out of those structures, because it's basically always going to be a variation of a 1-1-1, right? You can't really count gateways or figure out exactly what the intention of the opponent is by looking at their structures exclusively. So a lot of it is experience and knowing what to expect and exactly at what moment. So far, so good though right here for hero. Widow Mines. Is it going to be a medevac? It surely will be. We're waiting right now for that supply depot, but there we go. Medevac together with a Widow Mine. 2 Widow Mines and a medevac. A match made in heaven. They get to sit in that plane and go on a little field trip to watch what I would imagine is going to be the other side of the map. Cheeky little move right here from Mr. Cure, purposefully parking that Hellion right on top of the Widow Mine. He's like, here little Adept, or here little Stalker, come and eat it. Yeah, there, here we go, no worries dude, it's totally safe. And then they explode, yeah. Terran players, dude. Ay. Never up to any good. Alright, ultimately though, it's gonna be 2 Widow Mines instead of a plane. And apparently, we're going to be grouping up the, well, Reaper right there together with the Hellion. I think they're taking a creative path just to make sure that there is no way that there's a hidden starport or something along those lines. Alrighty, so how much damage can Cure do right here with his push? 3 Adepts are shading out right now. They were the Guardians of the Wall. Okay, we just have a lot of aggression, I think, here on the horizon, so Widow Mine's going in first. Forced to pull these away. Adepts on the other side of the map ready. Ooh, to go straight into the main base. Hellion over here as well, together with the Reapers, just starting to pile on the pressure. Adepts right now killing as, well, many SCVs, I guess, as they can. Problem is he's only got 2 of them right now, which makes it a little bit tricky. Yeah, takes 3 of those shots to actually get rid of them. Looks like the Widow Mine drop was handled well. How many SCVs are we gonna get? Making a little shade around the main base. 8 workers right there going down on the side of the Protoss. And I guess 5, yeah. 5 going down in total right here on the side of the Terran. 3 Adepts have fallen as well. I think the Widow Mine hit killed 1 of the Stalkers there. Medevac with the 2 mines though also fell, so actually kind of a difficult game right now to judge. How many gateways are we on? It's 3 gateways in total. Stalker's going around the site. There's no prism here. There is a prism out, but ooh, it's sending everything across. Raven on the back of this as well from Cure. It's become a very popular transition. Medevac into Raven. Even though you have to research the interference matrix, it turns out the auto turret and the, well, the good old armor reduction is still very powerful. Is there enough for hero to push in right now? That's the question. That's what he's looking for. He's got 3 gateways and a robo. There's the robo bay once again. No 3rd nexus. Ooh, not expecting those force fields, eh? Still though, yeah, I say that. These Marines that just stand there and shoot their guns. Pretty powerful. Okay. Raven, at least showing himself over here. Yeah, ready to drop in another auto turret just to be a jerk. 1 probe, 2 probes. It's not the end of the world, but nice supplemental bit of damage. 5 probes in total, by the way, is not bad at all. Getting 1 more over here. As Protoss was about to get ready to make a 3rd nexus. I'm starting to like this more and more. Don't think the Stalkers can get a whole lot done over here either with that siege tank positioned in the mineral line. Look at him. Slightly ramped up against the command center itself. Apparently that's the perfect spot. Raven in the back. Yeah, this is annoying, right? So, ultimately, 18 probes have now been killed in this game. This Raven alone has 8 kills, and he's still gonna be very useful when the Colossi hit the battlefield, assuming he's still gonna be alive and we get the interference matrix research, but even with just the anti-armor missile, it's still really handy. So this is becoming more and more do or die right now for Protoss. Okay, blink into the main base. Gets the siege tank for a stalker, not a bad trade. There's the power spike though, finishing up right there on the right side of your screen. Terran getting all of his upgrades lined up together. And suddenly those Marines and Marauders are going to be significantly more powerful. I was wondering where they all were. That's because they've been loaded up into medevacs that are now heading towards the main base of the Protoss player. Stalkers trying to get their work done, but okay. Where you going, buddy? One of them was going to die there regardless because there wasn't enough room in the plane. Instead, they decided to both die. Okay, we're going to recall that prism back home. I think just settling for the pylon and getting out of there is not a bad idea. Yeah, okay. This is one of those games, though, where, like, not really even that much has happened, right? It's just that Terran is outgrowing the Protoss. Has hero done any critical mistakes in this game? Has he made any critical errors? Not necessarily. It's just little things here and there that have not been handled quite as nicely as they could have been. This Raven, that's a backup Raven, by the way. Where's the other one? This guy over here has 8 kills, this guy over here has 3. Yeah, they're just hanging there, waiting until they get some energy. That's one of the downsides when you don't open up with a Stargate. These units can just sort of hang out in the dead space of your base and occasionally come in and drop an auto turret off whenever they have energy. And it deals damage over time. Third Nexus is done at this point, but there's not even remotely enough workers available. Hallucinated Prism, that's cheeky. There's not even remotely enough SCVs probes available right now to saturate it. Not even enough right now to saturate 2 bases. So instead what we're gonna do is go for an all-out attack right over here at the front. The real Colossi here trying to just shoot at that bunker. But ultimately there's way too much Terran, and Cure, he makes it look easy here in game number 3. Now that's the type of game you want to avoid as a Protoss player. You want to be able to point at one mistake that you made that cost you the game. But there was no one mistake that hero made in that previous game. There were about dozens of mistakes that slowly added up over time. And usually whenever that's the case, you're getting outplayed. And that's not really what you want to feel, right? That's not really what you want to have going in your game. So Twilight Council opener here once again on site Delta as well. Hellion here this time around. Starport coming up. Are we going to be going for... Well, we made Hellions as well in the previous game. Are we going to once again be going for the Widow Mines? Looks like Widow Mines into Raven. Not a bad choice whatsoever. Command center built on the low ground. SCV is running for its life. Sorry, buddy. You're running away from the tank. This is MMORPGs 101, okay? Never run from the tank. Is he going to be okay? Oh, he's going to be alright. Ah, maybe not. No, he's still dead. What about that mule? He's not dead, guys. Rejoice! The SCV lives! Okay. We're gonna go into a Cyclone. So again, this is what makes it so tricky, right? For Protoss to figure out what they're playing against. Like, yeah, it's a 1-1-1. But a 1-1-1 doesn't really tell you that much. It could be anything. Widow Mine drops, Marine drops, straight upgrades, it could be Banshees, it could be straight Raven, there's so many options available. Well, at the very least, he's going to be able to get a little bit more intel here, as the Marines are forced to deal with this Adept that's now in the main base. Picking up a couple of the weakened SCVs too inside of that medevac, that's cute. They get to have just a taste of the Marine life. Okay. This Cyclone. It looks menacing, it looks scary, but honestly, I'm not sure that it is. We're gonna go 4-gate this time around, by the way, here. So, hero apparently has noticed a weakness in his opponent's defense so far, and he's like, you know what, if only I would have had one additional gateway in the previous game. Or in the previous games, rather. If I would have been able to warp in a few more Stalkers, life would have been okay. And that's what he's gonna try and do this time around. This hasn't really been that amazing a start right here for Cure. It's nothing all too crazy either, but yeah, losing a bit more than he was probably hoping for. Maybe getting an adept for his troubles is going to make him feel a little bit better, but... Interference Matrix. Yeah, so no Widowmine drop. It's just going to be straight into the Raven. We're really going to need a siege tank here, Kjör. Hello? Mr. Factory, we have one siege tank, yes, but we need another. Mr. Factory? Ooh, okay. He is crossing his fingers right now and hoping that this is not going to be a 4-gate, which is never a great strategy to play. I mean, the 4-gate is. Crossing your fingers and hoping it's not is not a great strat. Alright. Show us some of that phenomenal Stalker micro, Mr. hero. So far, so good. Picking up the units. There's an anti-armor missile. Okay. Maybe a little annoying, but... Siege tank down the drain. We're not gonna get siege tanks here either. Yeah, at this rate we can't. He needs to do the switcheroo once again and add a tech lab to that particular unit. I don't think he's gonna aggressively blink forward while he's still covered in the Dorito dust, but so many SCVs are already falling. Defensive blinks here instead. Picking up the Stalkers as well with that Prism, trying to keep track of them, and that's 15 SCVs going down. Another warp-in worth of units. We have maybe energy for, yeah, an auto turret, but that means no more anti-armor missile. So that's gonna buy him a little bit of time, but that's about it. Maybe you can get that time, though. Or you can use that time, rather, to get a siege tank out. Aggressive blink forward over here. Stalkers going into the back of the main base. And that counter with 17 workers, yeah. hero wants to see that go into the 20s. Double-pronged Stalker aggression, though, is very difficult to micro properly. Stalkers do continue microed on both ends of this battle. Zealots right now also joining in the fray. I love it. Oh, oh my god. Okay. Well, that was suboptimal to say the least. Stalkers apparently wanted to hug Marines. Marines don't want to hug, okay? Hugging is gross and filthy, but ultimately the damage is already done, and it's indeed gonna be hero who obtains the victory. Okay, so that takes us to the final game of today. And that one will take place on the map Hecate. Let's see. Both players, they've been testing the waters. They know exactly what the opponent is good against today and what they are maybe struggling with just a bit. So I'm assuming we're gonna see the pinnacle of strategy right here in our final game. Well, maybe not. Shield battery coming up already inside of the main. As apparently, Mr. Hero is ready to start, yeah, putting on a bit of pressure on the other side of the map, sending all of his units that he's got so far across, together with the combat probe. He's got a mean taser, dealing 5 damage at a time. SCVs are pulled away as well. Oh, look at him. I told you guys he had a mean taser. Yeah. He's trying desperately to slow down. Oh, he's dead. Probius, F's in the comment section, please. Pay your respects. Yeah. Ultimately, I mean, the Reaper apparently still having a good time, probably picking up a couple of the probes that were trying to go down to the low ground. Maybe just the probes that were made over here on the low ground. Okay. Ultimately, though, does this really matter, right? There were so many SCVs nearby that could finish up that command center, and that's usually the main goal. You don't need to be able to mine that base right away, but just starting up the orbital command, letting it accumulate energy, absolutely huge. We're gonna go Blink, by the way, 5 out of 5 games. So hero not really believing in any sort of, well, any sort of variety right here. Just aiming for the most comfortable style instead. You can't blame the man, but it does make you wonder why we don't see a Stargate opener from him, basically ever. At least over the last couple of weeks. I don't remember the last time I've seen him make a Stargate. There's a robo facility together with the second gateway. Nice little wall off over here. Specifically made to prevent any Hellion drive-bys. But in the previous game where he had that, we also saw a Hellion drive-by together with the Reavers. That was game number 3 of this series. Cyclone driving around over here, but it is going to be a Widowmine drop. Yep, I like the idea of a Widowmine drop. Widowmine into Raven, not a bad call. Are we going to commit? We are. Is that the right call? Yeah, matter of fact, here at the perfect moment. Losing one of the adepts, though, does slow down this aggression. Killing one more would be nice. Yeah, 3 SCVs for 2 adepts is Nothing really to write home about. Okay. Medevac drop ready to move across. I do believe it was spotted just now by hero. He must have seen that with a shade. That this medevac is ready to fight. Blink is gonna finish up in just a few seconds and hero's already waiting. 3 gateways in total. A little bit of a supply block apparently. Sloppy mistake right here, but then again these guys have been playing for at least... Well, this is the finals of a game, or of a series rather. And then the finals of a tournament as well. So these guys have already been playing for like probably 5-ish hours. Maybe a little less. I don't really know exactly how long this tournament usually runs, but I think it gets played like in the middle of the night in the Netherlands. So I've never actually followed it that closely when the games are being played. Either way, little mistakes like that do add up over the course of a game, so you gotta be careful. Robo Bay on the back of this, once again here for hero, so he will be going into the Colossi before making that transition towards a 3rd base. That's a lot of Stalkers though. Prism coming across as well. +1 infantry weapons here, researching for cure. He's gonna be going into the 1-1, or sorry, into the +1. And then also the tech lab upgrades for the Marines and the Marauders. Siege tank over here. He is only going to be able to fire at 1 Stalker. Cute little play right there. Moving it as close to that tank as possible to be outside of the minimum range. 2 probes fall on the other side of the map with that Cyclone apparently. Just driving in. You'll love to see it. Stalker's going into the main base. Siege tank actually not sieged up in time. Can we get the kill on it? He's going to try and he does get it. Is he going to be punished for it? A little bit, but not too much. In the meantime, it looks like, yeah, that Cyclone ended up getting destroyed. Picking up the units. Killing SCVs. Okay. There's that Raven harassment once again, though. And this Raven harassment really is a pain in the butt when you do not go for the Stargate opener. When the Stargate opener is, yeah, just not something you're comfortable with playing, these Ravens can just constantly go in and get a bit of work done. Another blink forward over here. Trying to kill as many SCVs and Marines as possible. Stimpack, though, is on the horizon. Okay. Alright, so where are we at right now? 13 SCVs, 12 probes. Heroes had to work for those 13 SCVs a hell of a lot harder so far than Cure needed to work for those probes that he's killed. Okay. Colossus. Maybe all army hotkeyed in as well. A little bit dangerous, but Third Nexus right now is coming up. Can he win the game with this? Honestly, this is a scary attack. There are 3 siege tanks available. Extended thermal lens, about half a minute. A little less than that. Away from finishing up. Picking up the units before the siege tanks really get in range. Okay. We're gonna continue the Colossus drops, apparently. Fair enough. I always like Colossus drops, even though it's usually not particularly effective. It looks cool. Makes for good YouTube thumbnails as well. Don't forget about those. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, we're gonna recall that Prism. It's too valuable a cargo. Recall the Prism, get on out of there. Double forts in the main base. Third Nexus done. 1-1 upgrades. Alright. The ball is in the court right here for Cure. He's finished his upgrades right now, or at the very least he's in the process of finishing them. This is an opportunity for him to start driving towards the other side of the map with some of his siege tanks and have the boots on the ground here as well join in. Gravitic Drive, that's the War Prism speed upgrade, very handy. Third CC at this point is done. Cure, maybe not, yeah, mining off of 3 bases just yet, but he's matching his opponent's worker count quite nicely. And that's usually a good indication for Terran. He just needs to be able to secure the base. Rather than going for the short location, he decides to go for the far away one. Interesting. But I think ultimately, both players just, yeah, trying to play a bit of a macro game here. I mean, it wasn't herO's intention. He would have liked to have won the game by now, but he didn't really get a lot of damage done ultimately, and that means that Cure is now gonna, well, be the aggressor if he wants to be, but it doesn't look like he wants to be. So instead, we're just gonna sit here and mech curl up. Alright. Ghosts. The 1-1 upgrades here are really neat though, for hero. Like, he's gonna be able to cruise straight into 2-2. There's the Dark Shrine as well coming up. Yeah, the Ghosts are gonna be very handy with their EMP ability once again to shut down any sort of aggression. We don't have the charge upgrade just yet here for hero, so that is something to keep in mind. Instead, he decides to go into Disruptors. Okay. Auto turrets here trying their very best. One final hurrah right there for the Raven. 4 additional probes before it ultimately gave its life right there to the Terran Dominion. As Terran, though, is finally taken care. Now he notices as well that he doesn't have charge. As Terran is finally taking care of the 3rd base, hero is already building up a 4th Nexus. Alrighty. Yep, so this is gonna be a big macro game to go out, it seems. We have some harassment, a few Dark Templar being warped in, sure. The Invisible Men walking hand in hand. You love to see it. How much damage can they do? Not a whole lot. This guy who stopped walking, the smarter of the two. I say that. He's also pretty dumb though. Turns out being a Dark Templar, it's not about being sneaky, it's about an IQ test. Okay. 4th command center inside of the main base. That one will definitely be planted over there. I highly doubt he's going to be flying that all the way down towards the 6 o'clock. This probe wanted to be a Dark Templar. He did pass the IQ test, however. And because of that, he wasn't allowed. Disruptors, ready to start bowling a strike. Cure so far has been negating that very nicely. This is also expensive cargo right here inside of the prism, so he can't really afford losing it. Yeah, he wants to come in from the side. Maybe catch his opponent off guard just a little bit. Hoping he can get a lucky bowl, but yeah, not gonna happen. Protoss players are excellent bowlers, as we all know. But some of them better than others. Ooh. Okay. Somehow the Stalker got picked up there and not the Disruptors at all. 2 Disruptors for that many Marines? Not bad. This is where Cure is starting to split up his units once again, though. And this is a nice little meat grinder of probes. 13 of them end up going down. Okay, Widowmine getting a good detonation in as well. One of the Medivacs fell, but I think that's okay. Can you guys find your way back home? That's the main question right now. He's looking for you. hero does not decide to continue chasing here, realizing that he's getting dragged out of position quite badly, even though this isn't Cure trying to follow it up with anything. Cheeky little warp in over here inside of the main base. Mostly just to try and create a distraction over here. Is there still enough? Okay, 2 Marauders do end up finding their grave. Stalkers blink underneath the Vikings to try and keep these Colossi alive. 4 of them in total. Stalkers together with an Archon coming up to the high ground here as well. That's a mistake. Those units get picked off for free. Zealot Warpin continues over here, but I'm also not really in love with it though. Like, yeah, we get another Warpin done. Yeah, a few SCVs fall, but that's quite pricey. And it's not like hero's economy right now is like that 80 plus worker count that we sometimes see. Well, it would have been if he didn't lose 30 probes. 24 Zealots have gone down in this game, and I feel like they haven't really achieved much. 34 SCVs also were killed, by the way, but... It's a little bit more costly, generally, for Protoss because of the strength of the Mule. Cure, behaving like a brick wall so far in this particular game. Withstanding a lot of punches, maybe a few cracks here and there, but nothing all too crazy. Okay, aggressive blink forward over here. I wonder if that's the right call. Ghost right there does get snatched by the Disruptor Nova, but... Again, this is him splitting up his units. This is what Cure loves to do. This is a map with a lot of easy expansions to take, but now both players are going to the territory where it gets a lot tougher. Bunch more Zealots once again get found. Okay. Cure showcasing, though, some very, very strong TVP. He's not doing anything fancy in this game either. Don't get me wrong, hero still has a very good shot in this game. But there's a certain level of confidence with which Cure is playing right now. Not really doing anything too fancy, not really trying too hard, not relying on luck. Slowly outplaying his opponent. Hero once again. Feels like he needs to get something done, but every time he moves around, he hits another brick wall. 5th Nexus coming up over here at the, well, tucked away position for now. Any base after this for Protoss is going to be extremely exposed. This one already one that can be attacked into quite easily. Cure setting up a surround. Setting up a sandwich. Units ready in from the north as well, and they managed to jump on all of those Colossus. What a flank right there from, well, Cure. I almost said hero right there. That would have been a commentator moment right there. Honestly, though, just so much damage being done right here by Cure. Beautiful flank, predicting his army movement from the opponent and just shuts it down with ease. That's all of the disruptors and Colossus gone? Yeah, there's one more available, but that one is fresh out of the robo. And those are the only units that Cure was really afraid of. Good EMP over there as well. That shield battery overcharge is not going to achieve all too much. Dark Templar now forced away from their... yeah, they're going to morph into an Archon instead. Forced away as well for just a moment. Archon gets sniped. Vikings still up in the air. They decide to indeed land as well because there's no Colossus to kill, no Prism to snipe. Reinforcing Terran units are showing up right now. Early pull right there on the units. Manages to dodge at least most of the damage of that Nova. GG is called, and it's Cure who obtains the victory. Calm and collected. He played like an absolute killer throughout this series.